Hey everyone, it's Dan Filius and we're back in the vegetable garden again today. It is May, it's a beautiful day and it's time to look around. Let's go see what's going on. First up, we've got our strawberry crop here and they are looking really good. We've had some really timely rains which have really aided pollination, really great fruit set. And in order to get these fruit to the ideal, the perfect size, good flavor, we want to keep the water flowing. So if the rains don't come 1+ inches a week, we're going to get the irrigation going on these. So these strawberries are exactly what we're looking for, that tasty, juicy, ripe strawberry in 2 or 3 weeks. For most crops at this time of year, I have them covered with this white fabric. It's called frost fabric or row cover. And yes, it does protect against frosts when it is cold, but I have it out here because we have a lot of rabbits. And we've talked about this in the past, but they go after our flowers, vegetables. Let's take a look underneath though and see what's growing. We've got some bachelor's buttons right here, the annual flowers, some filler. This is a carrot relative, and some grass you can see. I also have snapdragons that we transplanted about, a week and a half ago that are going to be developing really nicely. And the flowers just keep going down this whole bed in all 4 of these beds here. We've got salad mix in this bed, and I've just uncovered the frost fabric. The bunnies like this too. So do the insects. The arugula and baby kales here, a pest called flea beetles really love that. And the frost fabric or row cover works as an insect barrier in this case too. This is actually my 3rd planting of salad right here. It's ready to harvest right now. 2nd planting is right here. I harvested it earlier this week. And if you follow me back here, you'll see that while this lettuce is ready to go, you'll see a missing chunk here. This was the first planting from mid-March. It's already been harvested 3 times and I've ripped it out. So that crop is done already. Peas are looking really good this year. I've got them climbing this trellis here, and I've used a cattle panel for a trellis. I like to reuse this every year. There are plastic ones on the market. I have found that getting the peas off of the plastic can be difficult, but peeling them right off of this metal frame is a lot easier and it doesn't break the trellis. And I just store this behind the garage and bring it out and set it up with T-posts every year. I find that I like radishes and turnips, but not a ton of them. So I use the space on either side of the peas here for 1 row of radishes on one side and a row of salad turnips on the other. And the radishes obviously grow a lot faster than the salad turnips. But these are so delightfully delectable. And I'm really looking forward to, in a couple weeks, these things being sized up to eat. But the radishes are tasting great right now. We're here at the back side of the pea bed, and we've got carrots and beets planted, as well as some head lettuce. You'll maybe remember from a previous video that we planted these just a little bit ago, and we're going to check on how they're doing. I think they're looking fabulous. I did not stage this, and this is the first time I've seen them in a couple weeks, and I am loving it. A couple weeks ago, they were getting kind of weedy, so I just went in between and gave them a little hoe right in between each of these rows. There are some weeds in the rows right now that I'm going to have to pick out, but in general, this is very under control, and the carrots are looking strong here. The beets further back, these beets are also looking quite strong. I did thin them a little bit after we seeded them, but and we'll thin as we go because we like to get them a little earlier than it takes to get a full-size beet. So we'll take small beets and have baby beets early, and then that'll let the other ones fill out to a bigger size. We've got this romaine head lettuce here and 2 successions. We've got the first succession here and then the second one. And we did have 1 die from the first succession and planted an extra transplant from the second over there. But this is near ready to harvest. I'd say 1 more week would be perfect, but I can't eat this many lettuces in 1 week, so I'm going to start harvesting now. Got a lovely kale and chard crop here. I always am tempted to harvest these a little earlier than I should. I think they need another 3 weeks probably before I start harvesting leaves off of these. If you take too early, it can set their growth back, and if you wait just an extra week or two after you think you should, you get a lot more in the future. Next bed over, we've got an experiment of mine that I love, but I'm having a hard time. I feel like I need to rip it out, but I'm not ready yet. These are some flowers that I overwintered, and I've got dianthus and money plant, foxglove is back there, some ranunculus. These were all underneath one of these little mini tunnels that I've got. And this bed in the plan is intended for cucumbers and summer squash. It's mid-May right now when those plants are ready to go in. So thankfully my snapdragons didn't survive very well, so I'm going to tuck the cucumbers in there, and I ripped out some things from the back, and I'm going to sneak in my summer squash zucchini, and hopefully these things will be done in a couple weeks when the next succession is ready to go in. Last thing that we've got really in its prime right now over here is our garlic, and my goodness, it's like waist high on me almost, and this is really strong looking. I could not be happier about my garlic crop. Here we are, we're gonna nestle these cucumbers in between these flowers. I've got this landscape fabric that I like to mulch with to prevent me from having a weed all year long. So I've got these holes burned in, and I'm gonna plant the cucumbers into these holes. Now, when you plant cucumbers, or really any of the cucurbit family, melons, squash, cucumbers, 2 seeds at a time is really standard. I'm going to go with 3 this time because these seeds were last germination tested in 2021. So I just want to make sure that I get a couple plants per hole here. So these are Corinto, one of my favorite varieties. Costs a little bit more money than others, but it does well on a trellis, and it produces a lot of cucumbers that are really tasty. So again, we're improvising here in this flower bed, putting in some summer squash. I just checked my spreadsheet and my map. We've talked about this in past videos as well, and we'll be able to share this year's plan with you. But I just checked it because improvising, sometimes I'll get caught up in the moment and I'll do the wrong thing. But I'm still on plan. I'm still doing pretty good here. So here we go. This is exactly where our summer squash is intended to be. And we'll plant it in the middle of these flowers, these beautiful ranunculus that have bloomed here. This is my favorite variety of zucchini, Costata Romanesco. 2 seeds there, 1, 2 feet right there, 2 more seeds in right there. Firm it down. There's zucchini 1. We're here planting melons, and same as with cucumbers and squash, we're going to be planting 2 or 3 seeds. These ones, again, germination test was in 2021. So we're going to plant 3 seeds in each hole here. This is a cantaloupe called Divergent, which is a hybrid that I've found to be super reliable and delicious. Sometimes I grow cantaloupe and they end up being, they look great, but they don't always taste great. And this one I've found to be, so far, pretty reliable. Next up, we're going to be planting some watermelon in these next 3 holes. It's mid-May, and there's no cold temperatures in the forecast, so it's a reliable time to be planting watermelon. And the sooner you plant them, really, the sooner it aligns with our tastes for when we want watermelon. If you plant them too late, you don't get them until after Labor Day, and people are into pumpkins at that point. So let's get them in. This variety is called Cafe Belle. It's an icebox melon. Icebox meaning that it's small in size. Some people call them personal, but I don't know. My family really likes the flavor of these ones. These are seeded watermelons. If you wanted to plant seedless, you'd really have to go with transplants and really, really baby them, because they are very temperamental. So I don't usually plant seedless. I leave that to the professionals, but a person could try, and maybe some year. We're at the other end of the melon bed right now, and we're about to be planting tomatoes and tomatillos and husk cherries. And then in the next bed, well, a couple beds over, we're going to plant peppers in a little bit here. This is one of the trays that we started in our basement. Because we're space constrained, we go with small cells. A lot of people like to plant tomatoes and peppers in bigger cells, and the plants do like it. But if you plant them in a smaller cell, they just stay in the tray for a shorter period of time. It's more urgency to get them planted. So we've been ready to plant them for half a week now, maybe a full week, but the weather is just now right. So we're going to get these in the ground now. Getting ready to plant these transplants here. I've got husk cherry right here, and I'm planting those at the end. There is a method to this whole thing. I have my shortest variety of tomatoes next. These husk cherries only get about this tall. Same with this next variety of tomatoes. It's a determinate variety, which means it's more of a bush form rather than a vining form. So I'm going to plant it right here so that I can trellis them together. You'll see maybe when we in the next installment where we're actually trellising these things, I'm going to put T-posts in and use string. So it's nice to plant the same heights next to each other. After that, we've got 5-star red grape, which is one of my favorite cherry tomatoes. It's really reliable red grape tomato. Following that with something called an experimental one called Sun Dipper. Not tried this one yet. I'm excited to try that one. And Cherry Bomb, which is a nice round red cherry tomato. So I've talked about planting plants in these holes that I've burned in the fabric to prevent them from getting overtaken by weeds. And there's a few ways that people make these holes in the fabric. Some people just cut an X, and that's totally good. The only thing I don't like about it is because it's a woven fabric, it leaves the strands to fray and blow and get scrappy and trashy in the garden. So I prefer to burn the ends. It's a plastic landscape fabric, and that sears them and keeps it from unraveling. I just use a simple propane torch. Other people use a heated up like soup can or something like that that goes right down and makes the hole. But I'll just show you how I do it right here. Just turn on the torch and then just like that. Planting peppers here. We like to grow a lot of different peppers. These ones in the front here are lunchbox peppers. My kids just go nuts over these things. And it's important to get the right color balance. My kids like the orange ones the best. So we've got 3 orange, 2 yellow, and 1 red. Planting these so that the top of the plug is just getting covered by the soil. Not too deep, but firming it in nicely into the soil. Don't want to have any air spaces around those roots, and also want them to have good contact. So you can be a little firm with them when you're putting them in. In addition to lunchbox peppers, we do plant a couple hot peppers. We plant a lot of red bell peppers and this variety that I really like called Carmen, which is kind of like, it's a sweet frying pepper. And we use the Carmens and the red bell peppers to freeze red peppers for the winter. And with any luck, our peppers from last year are going to last us until we get peppers this year. We try to keep the soil covered as much as possible here for both weed control and just soil health so that we don't have much erosion. You can see I'm standing on straw in this pathway that is a nice mulch to smother weeds. And also when it's been raining out, it's more pleasant to walk on, so we're not getting mud stuck to our feet. We've talked about the black landscape fabric. I've got it in the tomato bed that we were planting, also in the peppers, also along the edges of the whole garden to keep the grass from getting in. In this bed, I'm going to be planting cover crop right now. This is a section of bed that is not going to be planted until the midsummer. So it's got now a month and a half before we're going to be planting it. And I want to actually take this opportunity to plant a cover crop, something that can have living roots in the soil and be able to give back to the soil. So we're going to put some buckwheat in here. First step, I'm going to hoe in any weeds that are here so that they don't take over. I want to be sure to get it real shallow with my hoe, because if I get too deep, I stir up new weed seed. That's why one reason why I'm not rototilling this up right now. But it doesn't take long to go just a ½ inch below the soil surface, this whole section, and work in these weeds. I wish it was a little drier, but sometimes the rain that we really wish for gets in the way of that, but I'll take the rain any day of the week. So now it's time to spread the cover crop. I've hoed this whole thing in, and I'm going to put this buckwheat seed down now. Buckwheat's a frost sensitive crop, so it has to go out after our last frost. I'm betting that we've gotten our last frost, and matter of fact, it's been a couple of weeks since we've had our last frost, but if you look at our, average last frost date, we are, we had a pretty nice, pretty compliant, I should say, last frost. So anyway, I wait till I'm very sure that we're not going to have a frost to get this buckwheat out, because it's such a tender crop. It's kind of like basil or something like that. So I'm getting to get a pretty thick out here because I want it to choke out any weeds while it's growing, and I don't want those weeds to get a foothold. I'm going to step over here if that's all right, and step over here and do this side. Buckwheat's also a nice flower for bees and other pollinators, so I really love it. And once it's all done, we can just weed whack it down and it melts right into the soil. That's about it for today here mid-May in our garden, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you come back next time.